What's up, guys? It's Josh back with Sobriety Wad. Um, we just got back from the treatment center, and we're talking about a subject that I think was really instrumental in my recovery. It was a hurdle that I had to get over. It's like a semantic hurdle, but it's got a lot of importance to it. And so last week, after we finished class, we got into a discussion about spirituality, and it's always been like a topic that we've had to dance around. And so we've tried to do pre-sobriety while we did a little program in the gym, which was just kind of testing out this idea of introducing some of these concepts to people that were trying to better themselves in the physical domain, but knowing that they were going to need some spiritual principles in order to continue. And all I mean by that is, essentially dealing with habit change or dealing with trying to change people's their thought processes or their decision making is going to involve some element of changing their thought patterns and things like that. And that's really part of what spirituality is about. So we tried it, and there was like this line that I felt like it was difficult to cross without people who already are accepting of spiritual principles or already at that line of being willing to maybe consider them. So I have this kind of idea that hit me when I was first early in sobriety that helped me to kind of understand spirituality through a different lens. And so when I first found out about AA and recovery and all that stuff, I had kind of a background, and most people do. That's why there's chapters in there to agnostics and atheists and all that stuff, is that a lot of us have some kind of bad experience or negative experience in the past with the church or with religion or with God or any of those things, whether it be from like the institutions themselves or people who push these things on us or told us it had to be a certain way, or just genuinely like intellectual or philosophical disagreement with the ideas. And so when somebody first threw me a big book and I was looking for help with my alcoholism, and I realized that this program was spiritually based and there was God written all throughout the book, I was just like, man, so obviously this isn't going to work for me because I've already been through that, and that's a big part of why I am the way I am. So it was difficult for me. But at my first rehab that I went to, was a 30-day like treatment program, 28-day, whatever it was. And there was a time I remember the group was talking about spirituality, and I was kind of stepped away, and I was looking in on the group, and they were talking about it, and this idea came to my mind of how, spirit and spirituality is really just like a descriptor of an affect. So, we say somebody's in good spirits whenever they're happy and healthy and things are going well and all that kind of stuff. Or we say somebody's in like their spirits down, or they're in down spirits when they're depressed or sad or lonely or anxious or whatever, isolated. And it just got me thinking about the word spirit, the word spirituality. And what I started to realize was, essentially all we were talking about was mood. It was just somebody's general, like, what they exude, like the spirit that they exude. And so I started doing this little kind of thing where I would just replace the word spirit or spiritual or spirituality with mood. And as I was thinking through it, I started thinking about mood-altering substances or mood-altering chemicals. And if we kind of keep with that, replacing the spiritual and the mood, I realized that really what we're talking about is spirit-altering chemicals, spirit-altering substances, or spirit-altering behaviors. I'm in a bad mood, so I'm looking for something to put me in a better mood. Like, that's a pretty standard human behavior. And when I started to read the wording about my disease or my issue being a spiritual malady, malady just being a disease or an illness, but really what it's saying is I have a mood disorder. Well, mood disorder is kind of the psychologically or psychiatrically accepted description. But then I realized that's all we're really saying when we're talking about spiritual stuff, is that we have a spiritual disorder. So that helped me kind of step over a chasm that is difficult, notoriously difficult for a lot of people. And so as it continued, I was able to make sense of a lot of information, a lot of people speaking about stuff, especially spiritual stuff, where I was able to just incorporate the word mood and then end up agreeing with what they were saying. So essentially, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, other 12-step fellowships, and a lot of recovery programs are all methods of living our life that keep us from getting into those moods or those spiritual states that cause us to either want to use or to want to do unhealthy, to make unhealthy decisions to try to escape those feelings. So what I want you to do is take a second. You guys talk with the group, and I just want to know if that helps you at all. Does that make sense to you, the idea of mood and spirit? And some of you guys might be perfectly fine with spirituality and the idea of spiritual, but what we're trying to do is, or what I was trying to do is kind of take the like, because I came from a church with like spirits flying around and like spiritual warfare and all this kind of stuff. That was just like a bit far-fetched for me. That bringing this mood thing in just kind of helped tone it down a little bit and helped it become something I can accept. So you guys talk about it if that makes sense to you, if that's applicable. You guys also can talk about kind of where you consider yourself spiritually. I mean, some people are just like, they think they're completely opposed to it until they realize that this is all we're really talking about. And vice versa, some people are like extremely spiritual people. So take a second, we'll be back in a minute.